Welcome everyone, this is Ivory here at Morphicon, and I have with me
Kyle Wlodyga of the Super7 design team, lead designer on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
And we're here to ask them a couple questions about, the future of the product and, where it's going, the inspiration, everything. So we're just going to jump right into it with the first question. So when you guys come to decide the villains of the week, what helps you guys pick which villains or monsters you guys are going to pick?
To be completely honest, a big chunk of it is like, these are our favorites. These are the ones that we liked when I was a kid, or a couple of guys on the other design team, like the packaging team, they really like these guys. Or it's also a little bit of like what hasn't been made, like what's so crazy that no one made it before, like let's try and do that. Like King Sphinx or whatever. I know that people were like, oh, why would you do King Sphinx like before Zed or whatever? It's a question we get all the time, but it's mostly because we like King Sphinx. He was, I always liked him as a kid because he fought a lot with Goldar. So as a kid, I thought that they were brothers, which is, I realize how incorrect that is now. But they similar design aesthetics. They kind of have like the headdresses and stuff. But then, so there was that, and then one of our packaging designers was like, King Sphinx is the man. He's my favorite. Like always like that guy. And so I was like, all right, well now there's like enough of there's kind of like a vote a little bit. It's like, all right, well we have to do King Sphinx.
Okay, so that was our next question was, why did you pick King Sphinx? But it does make sense. I feel that Lord Zed probably has more figures out there than per se King Sphinx.
Yeah.
So
sure.
It makes sense to have a King Sphinx figure out there to help, represent him, because Zed can always come whenever. People are always going to pick up Zed.
Absolutely.
But who's doing a King Sphinx figure?
Just us.
Yeah.
Oh, and Lightning Collection.
Right. Did Lightning Collection steal the idea from Super7?
No.
We're speculating on that later.
No, it very much came out ahead of us, for sure.
So when can we expect the announcement of Wave 4? And are there any hints to what to expect?
I think you can expect not more of the same, but just new characters. We kind of have a cadence now where it's 2 Ranger characters, 2 bad guys and a Zord, right? That's sort of the expectation. So you can expect that formula to be followed a little bit, but maybe there's, if you guys have been following and paying attention, we've done the core team plus Green Ranger, so there's really only one other core ranger to come, so do the math there yourself. But as far as like villains and other stuff, like you can expect to see some wacky stuff. And as far as timing goes, we're still working on production for Wave 1, and we try not to have pre-orders out or announcements out for like more than 3 waves at a time. It's just not fair to the customer. So we want to make sure we get Wave 1 in people's hands first before we show anything for Wave 4, just so people are happy and they know what to expect of the quality of the figures and stuff like that.
I'm definitely looking forward to Wave 4.
Me too. It's a good one.
What characters would you like to see in the near future?
Near future? Oh man, I definitely want more skeleton type monsters. Like we did Reaction Rito Revolto for Wave 3, and he's so ridiculous and crazy.
It is a cool one.
He's got a bone AR-15, a bone sword, his helmet's skulls everywhere. It's, I think in the original concept art it says "Go to Hell" on the helmet, which is like, come on, man, like crazy. So if we do like an ultimate Rito, that would be sick. I'd give him like the Santa Claus hat from the Santa episode, candy cane and that kind of stuff. Him, like Mr. Bones would be awesome with like the hat. Yeah, I definitely want more monster type figures, because like as awesome as Lightning Collection is, they're still only in like 4 or 5 of them, and I feel like there's infinite amounts of monsters of the week we could do versus like Ranger figures. So definitely want to do that. I want to get into some of the weirder Zords as well, like, and maybe even some of the comic book Zords. Like how rad would a Grave Zord Ultimate be? Right?
Pretty sweet.
Or that new, is it the green, is it the white Dragon Tiger Zord? Just in the comics where they combined the Dragon Zord and the white Tiger Zord together recently. It just happened like in like the last 2 months or something like that. It was awesome.
Out on that one. I'd have to go back and see
sick. It's really cool looking. So definitely I want to lean into some of that comic book stuff. Also, as I'm a big heavy metal guy, like I was just at a ghost show last night. That's why I was late. But what they're doing in the comics with Death Ranger, holy crap! I didn't know I needed a Power Ranger with a skull face. I'd see it's the skull guys. See, exactly. I'm a sucker for skeletons, I guess.
Would definitely like to see a Super7 figure of him. He looks pretty sweet.
He's awesome. Yeah.
With the smaller Zords like the Mammoth, Triceratops, Saber-toothed Tiger, or Pterodactyl, join the lineup, or it's just physical suit Zords?
Sure. So the idea originally was the suit Zords, just because like T-Rex, Dinozord, and like Dragon Zord, they're powerful enough to fight monsters on their own, right? But there's been kind of a pretty big clamor for like, where are the other Zords? Like, let's get good ones of Mammoth and Sabretooth and all that. So, you know, if we feel like the demand is there, we'll for sure at least explore that option. Yeah.
I feel in your guys' design, you guys will make a pretty good scope of all the other Zords, and I would definitely look forward to like the Dino Tanker. I think that'd be pretty sweet in your guys' design.
Yeah.
And Titanus, yeah. Oh, I'm all about him. He's one of my favorites.
How do you articulate that? He's just gonna be a big brick.
You know what? He's gonna be a big brick that I set up on my display, and I look at and be like, that looks so cool. I like that. Now, talking about the Zords, right?
Yeah.
You know, is it going to look like a big brick or anything? Is it hard designing the Zords and Megazord figures?
It can be, especially just because like they're all so unique. You're trying to add this articulation so that it can move and hit those poses that you want or whatever. But the realization that I kind of came to when we're working on these things is that like all this articulation that we've added, like hands and elbows and shoulders and torsos and all that stuff, like that already moves better than like the cardboard boxes that they put on screen. So I think probably the hardest part is finding like the right reference, because a lot of those Zords, like as the show went on, like you can tell that like those suits were just falling apart, and so they started like, you know, duct taping stuff back together and like repainting it, and so like shapes and pieces will change over time the farther you go, and so it's like, oh man, like what do people see in their mind's eye when they think of these Zords rather than like what's, you know, here on screen. So there's a fine balance to like, this is a cool toy and this is 100% accurate to what's on screen. So it's all about finding that balance, I think, and that's probably the most difficult part.
Okay. You know, speaking about Zords, and you know, you had your desire to maybe do some of the comic book Zords and stuff like that. So are you guys looking to currently expand to any seasons? And if so, what season would you like to personally do next?
Sure. I personally really enjoy SPD. I would start out with swap mode. I wouldn't even do the regular ones, just swap mode immediately. Yeah, I mean, comic book stuff would be really cool. I mean, we're right across from the Jason David Frank banner here, so it gives you a good glimpse of all the seasons. I mean, Dino Thunder would be super sick. But yeah, SPD is probably my favorite. And I just started watching RPM, I think it is, where they have the tires on their on their gauntlets that they like burn people's faces with, which is so sick. I definitely want to get into that stuff right now, like eventually, but I think right now our license is limited to Mighty Morphin, just because Hasbro is very protective of that brand that they paid a lot of money for, so I totally understand. But there's also so much content from Mighty Morphin that, you know, we could do this for years.
So with Mighty Morphin, you have the first 3 seasons, right? Mm-hmm. Which, if I remember correctly, covers the ninjas and the Alien Rangers.
I think the Alien Rangers was like a separate thing after 3rd season or whatever, or it's at the very end. But the like Ninja Rangers for sure. Like there's the show versions of the Ninja Rangers, and there's the show versions of the Tangas. Like that stuff, we have access to all of that. Anything that's on the show.
I can't wait to see some of that stuff then.
Yeah.
That's gonna be super sweet.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for all my questions, but I'm opening up to you. Is there anything you want to talk about, or anything you want to promote, or, you know, just like, you know what, the better question is, what got you into all of this? You were saying, you were talking about you're going to show a picture at your panel of you in your Power Ranger costume and stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you were a big fan from the start.
Yeah.
So did that drive you to do this later on in life?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't say that Power Rangers got me into the toy industry. I think being in the toy industry made me realize the awesome toyetic power of Rangers. Yeah, so like as a kid, I was born in 1990, so like I was 3 or 4 when it hit, and so it was like I was like that perfect zone, like just that, like I was that kid who had everything. Like, so funny, my parents didn't let me watch the show because they thought it was too violent. I think I watched like the first season or whatever, and practiced one, Tommy Sikia on my cousin, and that was it. No more Power Rangers for Kyle. So of course, that same cousin, I would just go to his house and we'd watch it anyways. It was almost like, forbidden fruit a little bit. But I had all the toys. I could dress up like the characters or whatever. So I've loved it for a long time. I will admit that, like you do when you're a kid, you kind of fall out and go with other stuff, but kind of fell back into it middle of college or so. I was like, oh yeah, man, I really like this stuff. When I was working at Super 7, they're like, oh, we got Power Rangers, who wants it? And I was like, me, right here, I'll do that, I'll take over. Just because we had this brand, there was nobody who was like, gung-ho, let's do this, and I was like, I'm gonna take this opportunity and like make those toys I wanted as a kid.
And it seems like it's a big hit. I know tons of friends who collect the Super 7 Rangers and stuff.
Sure.
I have a small collection growing at the house. Definitely looking forward to it. More stuff coming out. And so, I mean, it seems like you guys came in, you built some figures, and you definitely started growing a very loyal fan base. Because if anything, the Ranger fan base is probably some of the most loyalist people when it comes to anything.
Sure.
So what do you think about that?
It's great. I love to have that kind of support for any of the brands that we work on. I mean, it's cool to be able to like give back to a community that gave me so much, especially growing up. Like one of my goals that I've been able to make some of these a reality here this weekend is I work on the reaction figures of the Mighty Morphin Rangers, and so my goal is to get all of them signed by the Rangers who play them. But before that, I give them their own figure because they gave me so much by being on the show, giving me something to look up to and enjoy as a child. And so that's my way of giving back to them, is I give them their own reaction figure as a thank you.
Oh man, you know, I did a interview with Tony Oliver, one of the original writers, and they had just released the legendary, the Legacy Saba, which is, he voices it. And so we asked him, it was like, because we had him sign one of ours, he was like, did you ever get one of these? And he was like, no, they never gave me one. They just kind of let him just pose next to one.
Yeah.
And then so we were like, well, dude, you're the voice. And it's like, well, we were just going to give this away anyways, but why don't you have it?
Yeah.
Right? Because this is you.
Yeah.
This is like your legacy. Without you, none of this really would have been here. So It's kind of like, so the idea of giving it back, I really like that. Because it just shows me like, you know, it's not always about like us. It's like, you know, you guys brought us to what we are here today, right?
Exactly. None of us would be here without any of these guys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like that idea, giving back.
Yeah, man.
Well, so that's all I have for you. Definitely look forward to your panel. We'll probably get some more stuff at the panel from you guys.
Yeah.
And then we obviously definitely look forward to more from Super 7.
Yeah, stay tuned. We got plenty more coming for sure.
Any closing remarks you want to give to us?
No, just thank you for the support. Thank you for putting your faith in us and handling this brand correctly. We're very excited about getting those figures in people's hands finally. Look for Wave 1 of Ultimates to be shipping in by the end of the year.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.